gentlemen, it is the day we have all been waiting for. And of course, by all, I mean all 7 billion people living on this planet. Because, of course, this is the world's most gigantic Walmart audio system, at least the biggest one sitting in my garage. And in today's video, we're going to be finding out just how loud is this system. Now, of course, when I say Walmart audio system, what I mean is that all these subs in the system are Walmart subs. We, of course, have these power acoustic Gothic subs, and these are literally the ones made specifically for Walmart. They are ran off of 4 of the power acoustic Razor amps. We then got a bunch of the Walmart wiring kits to wire them all up. And finally, we got a Jensen 4-channel amp from Walmart. And we got 6 of these 6.5s, of course, from Walmart as well, in the doors. Now, of course, this system is in a 2002 Chevy Tahoe, which is completely walled off, looking good. There are the subs sitting in there. So, of course, basically, guys, the entire back of the vehicle is this one big, giant box. Normally, you have a little box trying to pressurize a big cabin. In this case, we got a big box that's going to try to pressurize a little cabin, which is what we want. Now, while this is an awesome build, the big drawbacks are, of course, is that, well, you really can't buy very big audio equipment from Walmart. Now, of course, if you order online, they're really kind of like Amazon. You can order about anything from Walmart online. The point of this was to use equipment that you can actually go to a Walmart store and buy in person. So that is exactly what I did here. All these subwoofer speakers, amplifiers, and wire kits were all things that I could buy straight from Walmart. That being said, a couple things we did not get from Walmart. We did not get the batteries. Big Jeff hooked me up with these batteries. Big thank you to him. We did not get the head unit. I had an old head unit sitting around, and Walmart didn't really have any head units that would just work the way I needed them to work for this system. And then, of course, all the miscellaneous stuff, the wood, random switches, connectors, and just different things that Walmart didn't carry. We did have to order from Amazon or something like that. Or I just used what I had sitting around. Now, of course, we'll be doing a dB test just to see how loud this system is. We'll have my dB meter. We'll do it up on the windshield to see what that gets. And then we'll put it down on the kick to see what that gets. And then from there, we'll kind of see, is anything lacking? What little things can we do to try to make it better? And we'll go into all that. Real quick, of course, got to give some shout outs to everybody who's been helping me out with this build. First off, of course, Big Jeff, just being a big supporter of the channel, hooking this build up with the lithium batteries and the bass knob. Thank you so much, man. Second of all, big shout out to my buddy Patrick over at Smashly Designs for designing this box, which sounds awesome. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate you as well. And last of all, of course, massive shout out to the sponsor of today's video, Alfred Audio. Quick word from them, then back to the video. Alfred Audio has been a huge supporter of the channel, and they have made some of the best equipment that I have tested out in my just years and years of doing reviews. Now, of course, this Walmart video is fun and all, but it is not the ultimate goal. Ultimate goal is to have a full DEF font system in there eventually. We're going to do that in stages, though. Since power is kind of the limiting factor in the build, the next step, we're going to be pulling out the Walmart amps, throwing in this 8K Apocalypse amps. Want to test this guy out, really see what it can do, and see how we can get those little Walmart subs moving. Then, once we're done with that, we're going to be pulling out the back of the box, extending the box out to make it big enough for, of course, my 815 Avatar subs. That will be crazy fun. We might start off testing out with this amp if I like this amp, but if we need even more juice, of course, we've got the DefBonts 20K over there. That will be hooking up. What an absolute beaut. And of course, we'll be swapping out the Walmart door speakers for these 6.5 speakers that we got over here. We got some of the Arnold Neos. Probably throw those in. Really gonna get this Tahoe bumping. Now, before we can do that, we do have a little bit more work to do just to kind of get this thing ready. I want to give this thing the best chance that it has for success. First off, I do have another ground that I need to run. Doesn't really matter for this test because we're not really running off any alternator power currently. This is all straight battery power, which as you can see, I am trying to charge up so we can give it its best shot. Two, in the last video, I started a little kind of switch panel up front just so I can control everything and monitor everything. Had to get some of these switches off of Amazon. All that will be hooked up over here to allow me to monitor all my volts, hook up the dB meter, do all that good stuff. So first, guys, let's knock all that out, and then we'll get to testing and see exactly just how loud is this guy. All right, I've got a ground ran from the alternator all the way down through there. Comes down under here, all up along there. Pops up right here, comes through, attaches into my system. Now, right now, since I don't have a high output alternator on this vehicle, this ground is probably a little bit excessive. Probably don't need it, but hey guys, it can never hurt to have too many grounds, so might as well throw it on there. I'm gonna need it in the future regardless, but that's just one more step done. Next up, we gotta make a little box for my little control panel that we're gonna have up here, so let's get that figured out. Now, I've got some extra scrap wood sitting around over here from some prior projects. I think most of this was left over from the truck build. I think that'll get the job done. Okay, guys, look at the box. This will be a great little control panel. Now, the way I've got this done, I've got a slit under there on this side and under here so I can run wires, you know, through here into the box or out. So, for example, I'll have my dB meter up there. I've then got these wires. I'll be able to run these right into here. I've got my power and my ground here, and then I've got my switched wire. That'll, of course, run to the switch, which will be right here on top of my panel. I'll have another piece right here on top. I'll have my switch. I'll be able to turn that on and off. I'll have my voltmeter sitting right here. I'll be able to turn that on and off. And anything else I need. If I wanted, I could have a switch running to my amps and whatnot in the back, so that way I could turn them on and off right from here. That's not a bad idea. On the piece I have on top, I'm gonna have a hinge too. So if I need, so I can fold it up, get to all my stuff inside, and then fold it right back down. That's gonna be cool. All right, I'm thinking I could have my voltmeter right up there up top, and then I could have the control sitting right down here, right below it. I think that would be in a good spot. You know, I want this to be comfortable to where I can just reach back, flip stuff on and off. Ran out to Lowe's, got some little hinges for the little door that's gonna be over here. Now, one thing to think about, guys, I can't make this whole piece a door because it might be okay, but I think I can rub back here, which we don't want. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna cut a line down here, so part of it, you know, will be solid, and then the part out here will turn up, will fold up, and that way it won't rub against that. Let's get it done. Also, real quick, guys, I want to show y'all the wood shop out here that I finally got cleaned up. Just the old barn I got over here that's next to the big shop. Of course, I try to keep sawdust out of there because I don't want sawdust on all the stuff that I'm filming with. So this has kind of been my wood shop for a while. Now this summer I decided to do a little bit of work to it. First off, I actually built an old looking door over here just to help keep some of the wind out. So that's nice too. I finally got all this cleaned up. It was a huge mess. I had a ton of wood and just stuff absolutely everywhere. So we got some of this cleaned out. And then back here is where I have my saws and whatnot. Guys, this whole thing was just piled up with wood. And if you look back at some of my older videos, you'll see that. Finally got it cleaned up. Made a really nice place for a workbench for my saw over here. I like having my big saws back here out of the way, so that way most of the sawdust can blow out of here. Not too much in there, but of course if we get some in there, no big deal. Next thing I really need to do is build a door on this side. That way this whole kind of original section of the barn can stay nice and closed off. And then this lean-to out here will be where I do all the sawing and whatnot. Got this back piece attached, and of course this guy will unfold just like that. Oh, this is awesome, guys. Now before I put the hinges on it, I need to figure out where I need to drill out stuff up here. Of course, I think this guy's gonna sit right here. These guys right here, so I gotta figure all that out, drill the holes, and go ahead and run everything. All right, got my hole cut out, and you have this little fella in the bottom like that. You can just sit it, cool, right in there. That is sweet. These little LF Audio voltmeters are cool. Got the next portion figured out. Went ahead, drilled holes on the ends. Should be just perfect for that. Next up, gonna cut out that whole middle section. Then we'll have this piece done. All right, that's done. Let's make sure everything fits. Beautiful. That slides right in there. And that fits right there. Oh, that is perfect. All right, let's test it out. Make sure it gets the job done. I will sit right there. That gives me room right here to hit all my buttons. Sitting right down there in a good spot. Again, I can reach everything fine. I can see my voltmeter. That is perfect. Went ahead and routed out the edges just to smooth them up just a teeny bit. Well, this means, y'all, it is time to start wiring everything up. Got my positive and my negative over here nice and secure. Let's get everything hooked up. All right, got my first thing hooked up. Let's see if this works. Got it on this second switch over here. Oh, we got some light there. Oh, look at that. Oh my goodness, guys, it worked. It's on. Let's turn it off. Back on. Beautiful. All right, got the voltmeter hooked up in here. Let's see if it works. Nice. Very cool. Now what I like about this is that I've got it hooked up to my regular car battery, which is a little one down here at 12.75 volts. And I've also got hooked up to the rear batteries, which are, currently not hooked up to the stock system. You can see those are sitting at 13.29 volts. It's very cool. I'll be able to monitor both. And you could have up to 4 inputs into this thing. So you could be monitoring multiple things. Another thing, you can hook up your phone to this. There's no controls on it, but you can hook up your phone to it through Bluetooth and you can change the settings. Okay, got it figured out. Now, as you can see, I can see both of these a little bit easier. So there's my rear battery and my front battery. And then if I had 2 more hooked up, I could see those as well. Pretty cool. Got everything screwed in and in place in here. For now, I just have the voltmeter and the dB meter hooked up. Don't have anything on these 3 yet, but we'll get something on there soon. I'll definitely have one going to the sub amps, so that way I can turn those on and off when I want. And then for the regular door speaker amps, I could have one to control those separately, or I could leave it to where it's just when the radio's on, all the normal speakers, that amp comes on. I'm not sure yet. All right, time to get the hinges on this thing. And we picked these up from Lowe's. Ah, that should be just perfect, guys. Oh boy. All right, look at this. Again, I can get to all my stuff. And if I need to work on it, just fold it right open. I've got everything right there. Perfect. And one thing to think about with this being a, windy audio build, this might slap around a little bit, so I'll probably need to put some sound deadening around the seam here to keep it from, smacking wood on wood. I don't know. We'll see what needs to be done. Another thing I'm planning to do is to put LEDs in here so you can actually see inside here. Right now it's just a giant black hole of a box. But I just thought about it. That'll be perfect. One of these switches I'll have dedicated for that. Ah, yes. Before doing the DB test, I wanted to get a little bit of light inside the box. So I ordered some LEDs and some extra wire so we can get that wrapped up. Got this BTF wiring or LEDs from Amazon. Seem to have good reviews, so hopefully it'll get the job done. Don't need a ton. This came with like 16 feet or something, which again, I just don't really need a whole lot, but if I need more, I suppose I can always get more. So these, you just put on just like that. We'll hold the stuff in place. And then I got some 18 gauge wire, just because I'm gonna need to run extra wire hook all this up. Just grab some speaker wire because that had the positive and the negative that I needed, and it was the red and black, which would kind of match up with what we got going on here. Now this is Nylite, same company that had the little switch panel that I have. I actually do really like the switch panel, so I figured I'd like this too. And it is kind of cool. I got this little thingy here to make a bunch of little switch panels, which actually do look kind of neat, guys. If you wanted something a little more fancy, I thought these were kind of cool. They got the voltmeter and they got all the little gauges going on. They also have standalone fuse blocks, which is really cool. Might have to try out some other stuff that they do. I don't know. Well, it's a little cramped in here, but it is what it is. Of course, gotta be careful not to step on any of these high-dollar monsters we got over here. Anyway, let's get these LEDs in here. Okay, what a massive pain that was. But we got it all in there and it's looking good. Look at that. And you can see those little tabs right there that'll kind of make sure it doesn't go falling off on us. The stuff is supposed to be pretty bright, so hopefully one strip all the way around will get the job done. Okay, we've got the LEDs all wired in. Of course, we'll clean that wire up, but I do got it cleaned up on this back side, if you can see that. Anyway, we'll get it put all neatly going down through there. Now, of course, I could have drilled a hole through the box and then drilled a hole under the box and had it come through. That would have been all nice and neat and you wouldn't even see the wire, but just not worth my time to do that at this point. Anyway, we got this ran and connected up to my switch. So, guys, moment of truth. Woo! Oh, guys, that is perfect. Oh, that is amazing. Y'all, that is one bright LED in there, but it is just perfect. That makes in there nice and bright. Whoa, that is awesome. Oh, I am stoked on that. But I gotta say, guys, just to get all the way around there, it took pretty much a full strip. I only had a couple feet left. Like, maybe 2 feet left. But one strip is all we needed. That is plenty bright. Looking on a switch panel. Of course, got the LF audio voltmeter. Looking good. This is my rear voltage. And then this is my front battery voltage. I've got them both separate at the moment. Plan to have 2 alts, one that'll power the back, one that'll power the front. Then we've got the SBL meter up here. So that's cool. Could of course put that wherever. Then we've got the LEDs hooked up so we can actually see inside this thing. Finally getting places. Alright, I wanted to do some DB testing now that we got this thing kind of wrapped up. But for some reason, I kept trying with this app, and I have a, the older app I used to use as well. Neither one of them guys would hook up, would just play through the radio. I tried doing it through the USB. I tried doing it through Bluetooth. Neither would work. I don't know why it worked back a couple months ago when I, first did the DB test before I had the box all wrapped up. Not sure if one of these old phones got updated or what it is. I don't know. That being said, guys, this is an old Pioneer unit. It's probably close to 10 years old. It's actually one I installed for somebody years ago when I used to install stereos. He ended up putting a different unit in the truck, 3 or 4 years later, and he actually gave me this one back. And it used to be what I would use for my garage setup. So it, hooked up over there for a couple years and it did fine. But right now it's just not really getting the job done. Now I went to Walmart, looked around at head units. I really wanted a single DIN head unit that had front, rear, and subwoofer outputs. So at least 3 pairs of pre-outs. And I wanted those pre-outs to be at least 4 volts, especially since these amps really need, kind of all the help they can get. Guys, my Walmart didn't have anything even that would even remotely work. So I figured we don't have a Walmart head unit anyway. Might as well get something that's actually going to be good. That's going to give, these guys the absolute best chance that they can get. Now, y'all know a while ago, Def Bonds came out with their own line of head units. I actually have one of them over in my current garage setup, and I absolutely love it. If you want just kind of a no-frills, top quality head unit that's going to deliver really, really great outputs, this thing has got you covered. Now, I have a different model in the one back there. I wanted to try out this model, so I actually went ahead and bought one of these. Now, yes, Def Bonds does sponsor the channel, but, guys, I actually really want to try this, so I just went ahead and bought one. So we'll see how it does. But what I really like about this guy is that it has really nice pre-outs. You have 8 RCAs, or 4 pairs. You can see some of the specs over here. Of course, if you use the amp that's inside these things, you get 25 watts RMS. You get up to 4.5 volt pre-outs. That is just awesome. And then, guys, you hook up your phone to it, and through Bluetooth, you can, totally customize the settings. I've showed y'all some of that. With the other head unit, kind of the same thing here. Absolutely awesome. Other thing I like about these is that they're actually kind of a shallow mount. You can't put CDs in them, so they're not as deep. For example, this Pioneer in here is an older unit meant for CDs, so it's really deep. It actually just barely fits in here. You really gotta finagle it to get it to fit. These are not nearly as deep, which is absolutely awesome. They can fit in much tighter spaces. Looks like we got a wire harness here. Now they give you this standard plug, which, again, just kind of a standard plug there, but you can cut all these and then connect them into a factory-specific plug, which is more or less what we're going to do here. That being said, since I'm doing this anyway, I'm kind of excited. I'm going to set this head unit so it runs off of this system, so it's totally powered by the rear battery. I want to keep the audio system in this totally separate from the normal car system. One, what that'll mean is that if I want to come in here and demo, I can come in here with the flip of a button. I'll be able to turn this system right on, which will be absolutely awesome. Won't have to turn the car on, so I won't have to drain the normal battery. Won't have to worry about lights coming on and all that junk. And since it'll be running through the same battery, same system, you'll be less likely to get any weird feedback or anything like that. At least that's the idea. Let's get this thing swapped out. We get a 1-year warranty card, and we get the unit itself. Back here, we've got a 15 amp fuse, of course, the connector, place for a mic, and I think you could do steering wheel controls into there. Of course, you have your antenna, and then back here, we got those 3 full range outputs and the 1 subwoofer dedicated output. This is really handy, guys. having 3 sets of full range outputs is really nice. You could have one set your front speakers, one set your rear speakers, and then another set dedicated for tweeters. That would mean you could set your, all your high and low pass filters totally separate. So you could have your front and rear doors hooked up to your mid-range speakers, and you could set your crossovers appropriately. And then you could have the 3rd channel run into your tweeters straight from the head unit. You could set that crossover appropriately as well. And then, of course, you got your dedicated subwoofer output as well. Def Bonds unit looking good, and of course we got it in this dash kit from Bassaholics that I got back a good while ago. Again, I just love how slim this thing is. Gonna have so much more room. Made myself the plug over here. Now I ended up really not needing a whole lot of stuff. We're not gonna run the factory amplifier, so didn't need any of those. But I did want the illumination wire, so we do have that one hooked up. And then over here in the vehicle, we've got my positive and negative that I run to the head units. Then got my switch to power it on. Those will be ran down through here and into here. Got these ran in to here. So my constant 12 volt ready to go. Then got this hooked up to the switch. I've got this switch over here so I can turn that on. That'll send my 12 volts right to there. Then got these hooked up in here so that way if I need to unhook all that, I can. That should be good. Should be ready to get our radio hooked back up. Let's get everything hooked up and hope it works. Everything fit in there good. Definitely a lot better than the old one. The old one almost hit into that metal bracket back there. But it's the moment of truth. Let's flip this thing on and see if it works. Hey, look at that. Oh, that is cool. Nice, guys. Okay, I realized I forgot to hook up the amp remote turn on that, of course, comes off the back of the head unit. So I guess I got to pull this thing back out. All right, got that fella hooked back up. So that's good. Okay, right off the bat, that is way better. We're sending a way better signal to these subs. I think they're gonna be a good deal louder. And now that I have the LEDs near, I can really see these things. It does look like this sub and that sub are out of phase. Not sure why. We'll have to figure that out. Also, as you can see, the car is completely off. I've actually even got the front battery unplugged. So you can see we've got no volts. Of course, we got the rear battery right there. Y'all, this is so handy having the whole audio system just completely, apart from the car. This car, when you turn it on, if you leave the door open, it just sits there and beeps nonstop, which is super annoying. And of course, you're then draining that battery because the fuel pump runs, gauges come on, other stuff that I just don't need to be on when I'm in here testing the subs, making videos. That being said, of course, once I get a second alt on this car and I need to charge the rear batteries with that alt, then we'll have to turn on the car to do that. But for now, since we're charging the batteries externally, it doesn't matter. The other nice thing about this is that if the car is on and I'm driving around or something, with the switch of a button, I can just turn the whole audio system and everything right off. And of course, since it's separate from the car's 12 volt system, all the normal car stuff can run just fine. I couldn't remember exactly which one of these went to those subs, but I've got this little test tool here from Big Jeff, so I stuck that over here, started down there, I'm up to here. Basically, you turn it on and then you just take this, I'll turn this up, and then I can run over to here, and I can see it's these middle subs that are moving. So I swapped the positive and negative on that middle pair, and as you can see there in that video, all the subs are in phase now. It looks so much better. it is finally time to see just how loud is this thing. We've got this meter up on the dash. We've got another meter down in the kick. We're gonna start out at good old 40 hertz. Let's see what happens. Woo! Hey, that is a big improvement, guys. We got a 147 up on the dash, and down in the kick, a 148.3. We're gonna go up to 45 hertz, see what that does. Woo! That is crazy. Not quite as loud, 146.5 over here. And down here, 148.64. All right, let's try a 143. $146.8 and a 148.73. Let's try a 38 hertz. $146.9, 148.22. All right, let's try 45 hertz just for the heck of it. Woo! Not quite as loud though. 146.1 and 147.25. Let's go up to a 148 just to see what we get. Got a 145.8 and a 148.49. All right, it seems like we've really got the best at right around 40 hertz. Let's do a couple of tweaks, see if we can turn it up a little bit, see what we get. All right, 40 hertz. Let's give it one last shot. Not bad, 147.6. Oh, look at that though, 149.36. Gosh, guys, we are so close to a 150. That is crazy. Almost getting a 150 out of the little old Walmart build. We have come a long way from the, I think we got around like a 144 or 145 last time. We're getting places. Gave it a couple minutes to let the volts kind of get back up. Let's give it one more shot. 147.8 and 149.56. Ah, so close. Let's try 41 hertz just for the heck of it. Woo! A little better. 147.9. Ah, 149.72. So close. Let's try 42 hertz. Got a 147.8. and a 149.63. Well, guys, you can see we're sitting right at 13 volts on, of course, the battery that's powering this system. I bet if we could get that thing up a little higher, closer to 14 volts, we'd definitely crack that 150 down on the kick. And we'd probably get up to, you know, good old 148, maybe even squeeze into a 149 up on the glass. Decided to get everything else all buttoned up and wrapped up, since this is the at least official kind of final part of this build series. Wanted to give y'all everything all cleaned up and looking good. First up on the back here, got all the wires all nice and cleaned up. Now, of course, there's little things we could do to really button this up, but I think this will get the job done. Got all the RCAs going up top there, so they're all out of the way. Got all the rest of my wires wired in. I've got it set up so that way when I turn on the head unit, this amp will turn on, so I'll have my door speakers, but I have a separate switch for all these amps, so I can turn the bass amps on and off separately. Those run up to here, and then I have them split, and they run into all these fellas. Threw in a voltmeter back here, just so that way when I walk back here, I can always see what I'm sitting at. There's, of course, nothing on this side. We've just got some storage for some of my extra miscellaneous parts over here. Of course, the rear speakers. Same for this side, not much going on. One thing I do got, though, I've got the controls for the rear AC back here. And, of course, the rear AC unit is still here. When I get my bigger system in here, of course, having this AC unit back here will be awesome. Means I can, pump cold air right onto the amps back here and keep everything nice and cool. And up front over here, got it all cleaned up and went ahead, threw in the passenger seat just so we could kind of really get the full picture of what this thing looks like. Of course, the subs just looking awesome back there. And with the seat in, this guy still folds up just perfectly. Also, from playing the music, I had all these fellas sitting in here, and now they are absolutely everywhere. I didn't put some of the panels and whatnot back in. I think it looks just fine without them. Of course, Cut the Speaker Pods did send me the tweeter pods that we could connect to those and maybe run some tweeters up here eventually. Crazy that this Walmart build is kind of coming to an end. I've had this vehicle for over a year. Of course, we did a ton of work to it. Now, that being said, guys, this is not the end of this vehicle. Of course, the next step is to pull this out, put the 815s in here. Oh, that is going to be sweet. But it is bittersweet, though, because this Walmart build has been absolutely awesome. It's been so much fun. I'm going to miss it. Did think about making a couple more videos. One, if y'all would like, in the comments, let me know. Thought about making a video going over what this whole Walmart build cost. I think that would be super interesting. So let me know in the comments below. Also thought about putting one of my bigger amps back there on the wall, just so I could see, kind of push these subs to the full potential. Those 4 amps back there are definitely not getting that much juice out, which I think is really hurting the scores. For demoing and playing music, it's probably fine. You don't necessarily need a ton of power going to these fellas, but I do think these guys have a little more in them, and if we could send some more power to them, I think we definitely make it up into the 150s. Well, it has been an absolute blast. I appreciate you guys so much. Would not have been able to do this without y'all. Y'all have been a huge, just massive support and a ton of help reading through your comments. I've got so many good ideas from doing that, so thank you all so much. Better wrap this up, but remember, as always, guys, keep basing on. Okay, when I started the build, I said the goal of this Walmart system was to be able to do hair tricks, so I have recruited the wife. We'll see if it works.